What's up, everybody? My name is Devin Terry, and this is Gut Check Fantasy Football, where we do the research so you can just go with your gut. Today is part 2 of our Outlook show, where we talk about everything that's coming up this week and how it pertains to our season-long fantasy football leagues. In case you missed part 1, be sure to go back and listen before getting into this one. If that's you, no worries, we'll be right here when you get back. We'll be looking at 7 more games today, so hold on to your hats, kids. It's about to get wild. First off, I just want to say welcome to the channel and or podcast, depending on how you're ingesting us right now. Be sure to do all the cool stuff that cool people do, like subscribe, download, and turn on notifications. Look, it's a win-win situation. We get noticed, and you continue to get solid fantasy football analysis. Let's dive right in. The 0-3 Arizona Cardinals travel to Cincinnati to face the 0-4 Bengals. This game has a 48.5 over-under with the Bengals favored. Some injuries you want to keep an eye on. Christian Kirk is dealing with an ankle issue. He will be out this game. John Ross injured his shoulder last week, and he has been placed on IR. AJ Green, of course, is still out. Stardom category, Kyler Murray. Fire him up. Cincinnati does not look good on defense, and I think that Kyler Murray, with his high rushing floor, is going to post some good numbers. Along with Kyler Murray, I would be playing David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald. With Christian Kirk out, Larry Fitzgerald is going to be forced some targets. David Johnson going against a crappy Bengals defense. I think he's going to do really well this week. On the other side of the ball, I actually think that Joe Mixon is going to have a sort of a breakout game this week. Yeah, he's going to be force-fed targets with AJ Green and John Ross out. I think he's going to do great. Tyler Boyd, he's a stud. He's getting targets. And with John Ross out, that's going to be even better for him. Tyler Eifert, he hasn't been great so far, but again, with the injuries that are on the Bengals side of the ball, I think they're going to have no choice but to give it to him. Sit him. I don't really think there's anybody that I want to sit in this game. I know it's a little bit of a higher over-under, and I think that there are points to be had. The only person that I've got in my go with your gut category is Andy Dalton. Look, last week he was absolutely atrocious, but we all know how Andy Dalton does in primetime games. It's horrible. Again, this is not a primetime game, and throughout the rest of the season, he's been pretty consistent, and I think he's going to do okay against a Arizona Cardinals that has been, getting eaten up against with almost every other offense that they've gone against. I do have a sleeper in this game, and that is Auden Tate. With John Ross out, he is next up to fill that role, and I think that if you need somebody to fill that spot, I think Auden Tate is going to be great. Even with John Ross on the field, he's actually seen some targets, so with him out, I think it's a great spot for him to come through. On to the next one. The undefeated New England Patriots travel to Washington to face the defeated 0-4 Redskins. This game has a 47.5 over-under with Patriots favored. No surprises there. Injuries to look out for. Steven Gostkowski. We don't really know what's going on with him. As of Thursday at 6 p.m., he has just been placed on injured reserve. Terry McLaurin is still dealing with a hamstring issue. He is labeled as questionable. And Vernon Davis is in the concussion protocol, and he is listed as questionable too. So be sure to keep an eye on them as the week goes forward. Stardom, Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Josh Gordon. I think they are going to just feast in this game. Tom Brady's going to have no choice but to give it to them in wide open coverages that the Redskins leave. And also, I think Sony Michel. I think this is the one game that Sony Michel actually kind of goes crazy in this one. The Redskins leave a lot to be desired on defense, and I think that he's going to post some pretty big numbers. Maybe this is the one breakout game that we've all been waiting for. The Patriots defense is also considered a stardom, as they are every week. Look, if they continue to go on this pace, they will outscore Todd Gurley's numbers from last year, and that is an insane amount of fantasy points. Going up against a Redskins offense that was led by Dwayne Haskins most of the game last week, and that was to put it nicely, a train wreck. So if he starts this game, great. Even if they put in Colt McCoy, I still think the Patriots defense are absolutely going to go crazy. Sit him. Honestly, I would sit every single Redskins player. I'm sorry, sit almost every single one of the Redskins offensive players. I don't think they're going to do well in this game. I think that it's going to be the Patriots show through and through. I don't even want to play Adrian Peterson or Chris Thompson against the stout Patriots defense. Go with your gut on Terry McLaurin. Like I said, he is still listed as questionable, so just keep an eye on that. Even if he is healthy, I'm still going to be fading Terry McLaurin this week just because the Patriots are absolutely insane on defense. Next game, 2-2 Baltimore Ravens travel to Pittsburgh to face the 1-3 Steelers. This game has a 42.5 over-under with the Ravens favored. Injuries you want to watch: Mark Andrews dealing with a foot issue. He is listed as questionable. James Conner with an ankle injury. He is questionable. And Vance McDonald, he is dealing with a shoulder injury, also questionable. Stardoms. You're going to want to start Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, Mark Ingram, and Mark Andrews all in this game. Of course, watch the injuries, yes. But Lamar Jackson, I think he's going to do great this game. The Steelers are middle of the road in almost every single one of their defensive stats right now. And I think Lamar Jackson, with his running floor and with the way that he's been playing, I think he'll be okay in this game. Marquise Brown, I really think that he is going to absolutely go crazy in this game because the Steelers cannot defend well deep, and that's what Marquise Brown is best at. I project him to get at least 2 touchdowns this game. Mark Ingram, he's getting tons and tons of targets, as is Mark Andrews. And like I said last episode, I put volume over talent in almost every situation, and these are poster guys for that. James Conner, he should be able to go the way that his injury is shaping up to be. If he's not going to go, we saw how great of a player Jalen Samuels can be. And if James Conner does not play this game, play Jalen Samuels. But if James Conner is healthy, light him up. You got to play the hot hand. He was great last week. You know, the Ravens, they're pretty okay against the running backs, but honestly, James Conner, he's a great athlete. I think he can break through. And Juju Smith-Schuster, the type of player that he was last week, but I think that still he's going to get some targets. He's going to be able to break some things through, and I would start him this week. You're going to want to sit hardly no one this week in this game. Even though it sort of has a lower over-under, I don't think there are tons of points to be shared, but still, I think most of these guys are going to be good enough for a flex position, if not wide receiver 2, running back 2. And of course, Mark Andrews is going to be a great tight end for you, no matter what game it is. The only sleeper I've got for this game is Jalen Samuels, and that is, of course, depending on the James Conner injury. If James Conner is healthy, don't play Jalen Samuels. If James Conner is out this game, play Jalen Samuels. Please do. I think it will be a great play. On to the next. The 3-1 Chicago Bears. The 3-1 Chicago Bears travel to London to play the 2-2 Oakland Raiders. This game has a 41-point over-under with the Bears favored. Injuries you want to look out for: Mitch Trubisky. He is dealing with that shoulder injury that we saw in the game last week, and he is listed as doubtful. Taylor Gabriel is in the concussion protocol, listed as questionable. Josh Jacobs, elbow, questionable. Tyrell Williams, foot, questionable. Derek Carr, dealing with a leg injury, listed as questionable too. If those injuries don't tell you anything, along with the narrative that they're going to London, I really think that the Bears are easily going to win this game. Even with that being said, you're still going to want to start Darren Waller in this game. I mean, the targets, you can't get away from how many targets this guy is getting. It's absolutely insane. He's on track to break records. He's just a freak of nature. He's great. Start him. Don't think twice. Also start Allen Robinson and David Montgomery. I think Allen Robinson will do well no matter who their quarterback is, just because he's an athlete. He's a great wide receiver. But David Montgomery, I will say this right now, David Montgomery is my start of the week. We've seen that his carries have increased exponentially every single game this season, and he is becoming more and more of a workhorse back. And going into London against a Oakland defense that is horrible against the running back, I really think that David Montgomery will have his highest scoring game this week. I am starting David Montgomery everywhere I can because I think he's going to do great. You're going to sit Derek Carr this game. I would sit Josh Jacobs, sadly, because I had high hopes for him. But I would sit Josh Jacobs this game, and I would sit Trey Burton. Trey Burton has not been doing well at all this season. He's not getting looked at by Mitch Trubisky, and with this new quarterback, who knows who he's going to go to. He wasn't utilized last week, and I see that continuing this week. Derek Carr against a really, really great pass rush defense in Chicago. He's already getting sacked too many times, and put him in front of a quarterback-hungry defensive line in Chicago. No, thank you. I don't want that. Go with your gut on Tyrell Williams. He is questionable with that foot injury. But, the Bears have given up a good bit of passes to the wide receiver position, but still, he's questionable with Derek Carr questionable and going against Chicago's defense. And it's okay. He is the clear-cut, number one looked wide receiver, but still, I am going to be sitting him. But what do we say here? Go with your gut. Before we head to our next game outlook, I want to take some time to tell you about one of our sponsors, Copperhead Creek Grillery. They specialize in all of your favorite southern foods, making everything from scratch. Boiled peanuts, pulled pork barbecue, smoked brisket, banana pudding, and sweet potato souffle, along with tons of other items. Copperhead Creek Grillery does everything from special orders to full-service catering, and with the holidays just around the corner, now is the perfect time to place your order for deep-fried turkey or smoked turkeys and smoked hams. Call 770-503-5441 for more information. Copperhead Creek Grillery, simply the best. The 0-4 Denver Broncos face off against the Los Angeles Chargers in Los Angeles this week with a 44-point over-under and the Chargers favored. Injuries you want to look out for. Emmanuel Sanders is dealing with a quad injury. He's listed as questionable. Michael Badgley, he is out with a groin injury. Mike Williams is questionable with something going on with his back. Justin Jackson dealing with a calf injury, and he is listed as doubtful. And Hunter Henry, even though he has started back practice today, he is still dealing with that knee injury and is still listed as out for this game. Start Emmanuel Sanders, start Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler, and start Keenan Allen. Even with Melvin Gordon coming back, and I think that he will be the clear-cut number one running back on this team, take a look at what happened last season when both of those guys were in. Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon, almost a straight 50-50 target share and carry share. Both of them still put up great numbers. Of course, Melvin Gordon putting up more numbers. Austin Eckler's now considered more of a low-end RB2 or a flex player, but honestly, this game with Melvin Gordon just now getting back in the groove of things, I think both of them will still have a pretty good game. Keenan Allen, he's great. Start him. I don't know why you would even think twice about it. Emmanuel Sanders, yes, it's Joe Flacco as his quarterback, but honestly, he's getting targets, and he is a great athlete, and he's good. Start him. Sit Joe Flacco. Sit Courtland Sutton. Going into the season, I heard so much about Courtland Sutton and how he was going to be better than Emmanuel Sanders just because of the athleticism and stuff, but we are not seeing that. And until we see some more targets go his way and some more actual athletic plays, I'm sitting Courtland Sutton because of who I mentioned before, Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco going against a Los Angeles Chargers defense that's actually pretty good. I don't want any part of that. Go with your gut with Phillip Lindsay and Royce Freeman. It's a running back by committee. I don't know who's getting more targets. There's no way to tell. And if you've got a beat on exactly who to play when, please tell me because I would like to know. I do have a sleeper in this game by the name of Noah Fant. He's getting targets and he's actually doing stuff with those targets. So, yeah. I'm trying to play Noah Fant, especially in DFS, but in season-long leagues, I think he's actually a good streamer this week. The 3-1 Green Bay Packers traveled to Dallas to face the 3-1 Cowboys. 48-point over-under with the Cowboys favored. But for this one, we're going to have to go with our Game of the Week specialist, Cody Bruce, to give us his thoughts.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Cody Bruce coming at you once again on the Gut Check Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm here to do a little segment called Gut Check's Fantasy's Game of the Week. Now, I know that there's a lot of action going on in the NFL this upcoming week, and the game that I decided to pick right here is not one of the primetime games, and may not even be the one that's on a lot of radars for people to be on the lookout for, but it is a game that I'll definitely be keeping my eyes on. When you have two teams, two very storied franchises like the Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys squaring off, it's hard for me to not take a look at this game, and really I think it's going to be a really good game. Now, with that being said, let's rock right along to a few fantasy options that you may be able to use from this Green Bay versus Dallas game. Now let's start with the running back from the Green Bay Packers named Aaron Jones. Now he's been playing some pretty decent ball so far this year. He's been kind of splitting time with Jamal Williams, but he could be a workhorse come this Sunday, with Jamal Williams likely not playing with a minor head injury that he acquired against Philadelphia last week. The Dallas defense, they have been looking pretty good against the pass, but we don't really know what they're made of because they've not really yet been tested. Yes, they played the New Orleans Saints, but they didn't have Drew Brees. We all know how that goes. If they are as good against the pass as their stats have shown so far, this could lead to a good game for Aaron Jones. I don't know that I would start him as an RB1 or maybe even an RB2, but he could be a good flex option to start. So if you have him on your bench, he could be worth looking at to put in your flex spot. I think he has the potential to have a pretty decent game in this one right here. Now let's move right along to the other Aaron, Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Now he's coming off his best game fantasy football-wise, although he did ultimately lose to the Philadelphia Eagles last week. He could be a good option. As I've mentioned before, the Dallas defense, they've looked pretty good against the pass, but they've not faced someone like Aaron Rodgers. Let's look at a few stats from Aaron as he's played Dallas at Dallas in the past. Now, in the past, he's really been very phenomenal when he plays in Dallas. He's 3-0 all time, and he's led the Packers to an average of 35.3 points a game in all three of those wins. He could be hit or miss this week, though. It all depends on if Dallas is the real deal or not, and if Green Bay can fix some of their sloppy offensive problems we've kind of seen so far this year. Now let's move to the last fantasy option I have for you from this game for this week. And let's go with this pretty obvious pick with Zeke. Yes, Ezekiel Elliott. Now he seems to be a good solid week in, week out RB1 option. I mean, we all know that. Now he'll be facing a Green Bay defense that has looked good up until last week when the Eagles came into Lambeau Field and put a good whipping on them. They seem to be able to stop the pass, but the Green Bay defense kind of seemed to struggle with the run. Jordan Howard had a pretty good game in the backfield for the Eagles. So if the Green Bay defense couldn't stop Jordan Howard, I find it hard for them to stop Zeke. I mean, really, not many teams can stop Zeke. He is kind of a beast. So it's pretty obvious. So if you have Zeke, you're already starting him anyway. I'm not giving you no advice that you don't already know. He's just one really good fantasy option. Maybe you have the option to get him in DraftKings or FanDuel or something like that. Get him for sure. Let's wrap up this little bit of segment with the ultimate prediction of the game. Now, as I mentioned, Aaron Rodgers, he's been very successful in Dallas in recent years, and I really think that success is going to continue, giving him a 4-0 record against the Cowboys on the Cowboys' home turf. As I mentioned, Dallas has yet to really been tested, and I mean, Green Bay, they've been tested a little more, but not like Dallas. Dallas has not been tested much at all. I don't see Dallas being as good as they think they are, and I mean, come on, let's be honest, nobody really thinks that Dallas is as good as they think they are. They're a decent, solid team. I just don't see them being Super Bowl contenders like they think they are. Anyway, I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think Green Bay is going to come out on top. I don't think they're going to cover the 35.3 points they've averaged while they played Dallas at Dallas in the past 3 games with Aaron Rodgers playing. But I do think they're going to come somewhat close, and I think they're going to get the job done. Even though I think it's going to be a really close game, I think the final score is going to be 27-24, Green Bay Packers on top. Well, guys, that's just about all I have for you this week. I want to say thank you to Devin and Dusty for letting me come back and allowing me to join y'all every week to do Gut Check Fantasy's Game of the Week, give a few predictions, have a little fun. I was a little off last week. Did pretty decent. But, hey, we all can't be perfect, right? Anyway, once again, thank y'all for letting me come back. I look forward to being back next week, and I guess I will catch y'all then. Y'all have a good one.
Thanks for that, Cody. Always good to have your input. I know I will definitely be watching that game this weekend. The 2-2 Indianapolis Colts Going to Kansas City to face the Chiefs, which are 4-0. 54-point over-under. Chiefs favored. Injuries to watch. Marlon Mack is dealing with an ankle injury, listed as questionable. T.Y. Hilton is still dealing with that quad injury. He is questionable as well. Paris Campbell, abdomen injury, listed as questionable. Damian Williams, questionable with a knee injury, which I think he will still play. Tyreek Hill, questionable with a shoulder injury. Stardom, Patrick Mahomes, duh. Travis Kelce, duh. T.Y. Hilton, duh, if he plays. Marlon Mack, duh, if he plays. And Jacoby Brissett, you're going to start him, and he is another one of my starts of the week. The Colts are going to be down in this one, and that's going to force the Colts to throw and throw and throw. And Jacoby's been really great this season, and I think he throws for upwards of 3 touchdowns. And yeah, start him, please. Damian Williams, of course, if he goes, start him. I'm excited to see what else this guy can do. But if he does not play, start LaShawn McCoy. I think it'll be a good game on both ends. Sit him. Meh. I'm not really sitting anybody in this game. It's a pretty high over-under, and I'm ready to see some fantasy points go out. Go with your gut on Eric Ebron, though. He's touchdown dependent, as is most other tight ends. I'm not a big fan of Eric Ebron. I'm not a fan of any of the Colts tight ends, but a lot of people like him. You know what? Go with your gut. In the last game that we're going to go over, Monday Night Football, the 2-2 Cleveland Browns go into San Francisco to face the 49ers, who are 4-0, which is still mind-boggling to me. But you know what? Oh well. This game has a 47-point over-under with the 49ers favored. Injuries you want to look out for: Rashard Higgins, questionable with a knee injury. Jarvis Landry, questionable while being in the concussion protocol. Jalen Hurd, questionable with a back injury. Tevin Coleman, questionable with an ankle injury. Start Nick Chubb. Start Odell Beckham Jr. Yes, I know it's the San Francisco 49ers defense. They've been underrated, but they've still been great. I don't care. Nick Chubb, Odell Beckham Jr. You drafted them high. They're athletes. Play them. Same thing with George Kittle. The Browns don't really have that good of a defense against the tight end, and George Kittle is an athlete, and I think he could break out this week. Sit Baker Mayfield because he's letting people down, and I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to say start him and him let you down another week because I don't believe in Baker Mayfield. Sorry, not sorry. Sit Jarvis Landry in this one. He's not getting targets, and he's also dealing with the concussion. If he does play, I would still sit him. Not my cup of tea. Go with your gut with Jimmy Garoppolo. I almost put him in the start column, but I still need to see a little bit more for Jimmy Garoppolo, the handsome Jimmy G, to actually have more faith in him to be an every week starter. He's doing okay. He's not doing bad. He has more of a chance to do well in this game than any other else, but you know what we say here. Go with your gut. And before we leave all of our overview shows, we do what we call floating down the mainstream. It's where we give the top kickers and top defenses that you can stream that week. And in part 1 of our overview show, we go over defenses. Part 2, we go over kickers. My main kicker streamer in this week is Joey Sly. He is only 50% owned, but he still is the number 1 fantasy kicker. He's a one-man team. Even when the offense doesn't get it done, he still goes out there, kicks it through the uprights, and he is doing fantastic. Like I said, he's 50% owned, but he is still the number 1 fantasy kicker. Nobody really knows this guy. He's going under the radar, and if he's on your waiver wire, pick him up because I think he will be great for the rest of the season, not just this week. Also, I've got Eddie Pinheiro here. He's been fairly consistent, and I can see Chicago scoring a good bit against Oakland. And Oakland has allowed 8 field goals and 12 extra points after 4 weeks this season. So, just to review, our kicker streamers this week is Joey Sly and Eddie Pinheiro. Well, that's it for today's episode. Be sure to join us tomorrow for our weekly DFS show, and check back next week for more podcasts, more videos. Thanks again for doing all the cool stuff that cool people do, liking, subscribing, downloading, and turning on notifications. I am Devin Terry, and this was Gut Check Fantasy Football, where we do the research so you can just go with your gut.